Hi, and welcome to 5 Minutes with John and Mark. John, these videos are going slightly more than 5 minutes. I think we're doing 6 or 7 minutes now, so maybe we should change the title a little.
Yeah, actually,
6 or 7. Yeah, 5, 6, or 7 minutes on the topic of challenges of inclusivity. Now, just to set the scene again for us, at Goodfoot, we work with the pyramid structure of building proficiency at a really good, strong base level of well-being, building our desire to be able to work, and then all the way up the pyramid, as it were. And inclusivity is very much part of the well-being arena, I think, but also a massive part now of leadership responsibility. So hence, it's a very, very challenging and relevant subject. So
yes,
I'll drop back out of that slide. And you've done some research, John. There are some generally agreed components of inclusivity, I think.
yeah. Some research done by Gallup. Out of the leading organisations, they were looking at the top global companies and what their main focus were, and they came up with these 5 areas. One was gender. One was generation. I think they mean age range. Nationality or ethnicity was another one. LGBT. And also disability. So I thought they were quite interesting areas, each one of them.
Mm. And these are these are the 5 arenas that kind of corporates focus on as a matter of policy, and then start doing measurements and numbers and opportunity analysis, etc., which is right. But of course, day to day, we're encouraged to be, we want to be inclusive as leaders and inclusive as a culture. So the question is, how do we do it on the ground? And our dilemma, I've always found that our dilemma is, rather than getting tied up in the categories of people that we must include, is what's inclusive behavior and inclusive attitudes on the team. Yeah. So I'm just wondering if you and I can exchange a few thoughts on that, because I know you've got a few thoughts. I've got a couple.
Yeah, well, for me, we've got to make a commitment to do these things. You have to actually focus on it. And it's not just enough to say that you'd like to do it. It's that you're actually going to do. You're going to focus on this as being a priority. Make it part of team meetings, discussions. And I think that then sends a message to other people that this is a priority. This is something we all should look at.
Mm. And I think for me, if you go to the ground level, you're working on site, you're working on an office, working on a team or a remote team. Then how do you bring inclusivity? That you're right. You've got to decide, well, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
We're going to have an inclusive team. And then for me, it's a question, well, what does that mean? And I think it boils down to me something very, very simple, away from the categories of gender and race and disability, etc. Whatever the situation that our team members are in, whatever it is, we want them to feel included.
Yeah.
So it's simply, for me, about conversation. That's it. It's about, are people having conversations, and are they listened to? Do they know they're being listened to? Now, they can't always get what they want. When we have conversations, we can't always get listened to and get what we want. But our views must be considered. And there's an increasing demand for views to be considered. And then, of course, decisions made by the leader on behalf of the whole team. So for me, it's a diary, if you like. It has to end up in the diary, a diary of conversations to get to know people, to ask their views on certain things. I'll give a couple of examples in a second, but to ask their views, to listen to their views, and to let people know they're being listened to. That itself is for me, is the heart of inclusivity. And then you mentioned the word safe, a safe place to express your views.
Well, I was thinking as you were talking, about the diary thing and having a place to bring these subjects up. Well, that's all well and good, but would you feel comfortable to do it if you weren't in a psychologically safe place? If your team, your culture, your manager doesn't allow you to express that in a safe environment, because you might say, well, yeah, we're all open and willing to have these conversations, but if you feel like there's going to be some judgments, or microaggressions as part of that meeting, is that something that's going to make me want to do it if I don't feel safe? I think we have to focus on developing a safe space and making people feel safe. So that's part of the culture.
And this was the example I was going to go to. A company we work with, and they had an issue that arose and paid heavily for it. And this is basically a project team
Yeah.
that celebrated its successes by going to the pub. And without talking about gender, race, or anything, religious beliefs or anything, one member of the team, for their own reason, decided they don't enjoy celebrating in pubs. So the mistake the team made was they didn't listen. They listened to the initial point, but then continued to celebrate in a pub. Now that's okay. Team can continue to do that, but if it is a team celebration of a project that person is involved in, they're no longer involved in that celebration. And most of us, 99% of people, would say that's pretty clumsy on part of the management to do that, and pretty clumsy to continue a project celebration regime and practice with somebody not there. And they did pay heavily for it, because it did end up in court. And for me, it's a very, very simple. Had that person been listened to, everybody's views taken into account, and then everybody's views put together and saying, look, the compromise between us all is this. How we approach it, the compromise is this. Certain things we can't compromise, like how work is going to be done, project timescales, etc. But a lot of things in conversation: how do we communicate? How do we celebrate? What are we going to be working on? Often can be negotiated, let's say. So opinions need to be listened to. And that's the safe place that we can express that opinion. I think that's what you're driving at, John.
Yeah, I think that example is really good, because it's talking about how to create belonging and inclusion. And I think inclusion is a place where someone feels appreciated for their differences, and then they're included. They're made to feel welcome. I think that's a great example of showing where that didn't happen for whatever reason. It be feeling part of the group is really important, whatever group that is.
Yeah. And the final point I'll put on inclusion is this, that for me, I see the most inclusive groups are those that are results focused, because we get away from differences and we get away from divisions, we get into skills. You know, what skills can each of these parties bring? And then differences become largely irrelevant, because we're dealing with skills. And as we appreciate the skills, and this is the important point, that everybody's skill set and contribution is appreciated, inclusivity naturally happens. And you see it in certain groups, international groups of scientists, international sports, in international projects you and I worked on. There's no question of inclusivity, because everybody wants to take part. So there's an appreciation of the skill set of everybody, and then a celebration of the achievements by everybody. Yeah. So there's some thoughts on inclusivity, the challenges of inclusivity from John and I. Thank you very much for watching and listening, and look forward to talking with you next time.
Bye.